You know what's on the way now, right? I mean, you got to know what's coming. All the signs are pointing directly to it because Todd Monken, he certainly won't be the only coach with the Baltimore Ravens that's getting a contract extension this offseason. Team, keep it clean. Boy, oh boy, do we got a lot to talk about, like always. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on so you don't miss a single update with all Ravens, and also leave a like on the video. Now, this is some news that, hey, a lot of people, they will like. They'll love it. Then there'll be a lot of people that are like, I don't know all about that one, buddy. And that's fine. Whichever way you feel, however you feel about this situation, that's your opinion, and we respect it. But what we're talking about is John Harbaugh. Now, of course, it's been announced, it's been talked about by several different reporters that Todd Monken is getting ready to agree to a contract extension with the Baltimore Ravens, and we love that because we love what this Baltimore Ravens offense has become. And even with their miscues, even with their mistakes, even with their hiccups, even with their errors, they have still been a pretty great offense overall. So we just envision them cleaning some stuff up, getting better in some different areas with the X's and O's and the Jimmies and Joes, and getting even stronger. But we'll talk about that when we get there. Let's talk about another coach, though, that being John Harbaugh. Because while, again, nothing has been announced officially, there aren't any rumors going around about John Harbaugh getting ready to get a contract extension, but come on now, like they're not going to have John Harbaugh sit here on a 1-year contract while Todd Monken gets a contract extension. You think they're going to have their head coach on a 1-year deal? You know Ravens don't like that type of stuff. They don't like those type of things. They call it a lame duck year for a coach. And Ravens refuse to have a head coach on a 1-year deal. Nah, it ain't gonna go down. Because even remember, because John Harbaugh knows too. I mean, we know already. I know all of y'all know already, but John Harbaugh certainly knows, and he let the world know the other day in that end of season presser. Because somebody asked John Harbaugh, they're like, hey, John Harbaugh, you have 1 year left remaining on your deal. How do you feel about that? Have you had any conversation with Eric DeCosta about that? What's gonna go on? Have you approached him about a contract extension? And John Harbaugh said, man, I don't worry about that stuff. He said everything, all of that will take care of itself. And you know, like, Harbaugh is 2,000,000% confident in what he said with that. Because it will. It will. He knows he ain't going anywhere. We knew he wasn't going. Before this season started, we all knew he wasn't going anywhere. Both before and after the season. Harbaugh is as safe can possibly be. And this season, I mean, look, why would they get rid of him? Think about it from the Baltimore Ravens standpoint. Not as a fan, but from their standpoint. Why would they get rid of John Harbaugh? They started the season 0-2. Lost their first 2 games, and they came back to finish the season 12-5. Wow. I mean, I didn't even really think about that like that. They only lost 3 more games for the rest of the season? That's crazy. Wow. Oh, okay. Well, hey, great job with that. Wow. They only lost 3 more games for the rest of the whole season? Man. But anyway, so yeah, and they won their division. They won a playoff game, another one. They ended up, Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh helped coach Lamar Jackson to another MVP. So now, with 2 different offensive coordinators, well, the MVP is not official yet, so my apologies. Let me slow down there. But it's expected. So under John Harbaugh, and even if he didn't get the MVP this year, under John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson has, under 2 different offensive coordinators, he has 2 MVPs. 2 of them. But again, last year AFC Championship. This year they get to the divisional round. But the Ravens, like, that's great for them. That's great. They looking at that like, oh my goodness, all this success that we done had. Yeah, we didn't get to the Super Bowl, but we've certainly had a lot of success. Harbs ain't going nowhere. And when you think about it from that point of view, it's like, oh, okay, well, I get it. But then when you think about it from the fans' perspective, how do fans feel about John Harbaugh? Well, like we talked about earlier, different fans have different viewpoints on John Harbaugh, whether the Baltimore Ravens should allow him to stay or the Baltimore Ravens should let him walk. I've said on here countless number of times after this season, specifically after that divisional game against the Bills, that was not on John Harbaugh, in my opinion. And this season, while he did have some hiccups here and there, John Harbaugh actually did overall a pretty good job. But my hold up right now with these Baltimore Ravens is it's a mentality issue. It's a mental thing with the Baltimore Ravens, and I just do not understand or do not know how the Baltimore Ravens will get over that mental hump. But if it's a mentality thing with the Baltimore Ravens, where does the mentality of the team start? Who does that start with? Where does it begin exactly? And in my opinion, it would begin with the head coach. Now, I'm not on here saying, hey, fire John Harbaugh, get rid of him. He needs to go, da-da-da-da-da. But I honestly would not be opposed to it if they were to move on from John Harbaugh. And the reason I say this is because it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It really doesn't. Think about this. You look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid obviously is an amazing coach. He is just over there killing everything with the Kansas City Chiefs. This man won 3 Super Bowls with the Chiefs, and he is getting ready to potentially win another one. We'll see. Even if they lose this Super Bowl, the Chiefs have been running the show for what feels like forever now. But they've been doing their thing over there. But did Andy Reid start in Kansas City? No, he didn't. He started over in Philly. And when Andy Reid was in Philly, his teams were having some really good regular seasons. Then his teams would have some really good postseason, but they would just keep coming up short. They had the talent. They had the team. They had the coaching staff. They had all these different players and personnel and coaches in place. But they just could not get over the hump. Was Andy Reid a bad coach? No, he wasn't. But a change of scenery ended up being best for not only Andy Reid, but also for the Philadelphia Eagles. So both sides parted ways, but both sides benefited. Why? Because the Eagles in, 2017 or 2018, they won the Super Bowl. Oh my goodness, that is crazy. They did it. But guess what? The head coach that they won the Super Bowl with, they end up getting rid of him a couple years after that. They said, nope, you're not producing enough results. You know what? We're going to go in a different direction. So then now they got Nick Sirianni. And he ended up going to the Super Bowl a couple years ago. They did lose it. They lost it. But only 2 teams get there, and he was one of them. And guess where they are right here, right now? They getting ready to play in the Super Bowl again for a chance at redemption from a couple of years ago. So you see how just because you get rid of a coach, just because even that coach is having success, not the ultimate success, but that coach is having success, a parting of ways, it doesn't have to end ugly. It doesn't have to be ugly. It does not mean that, oh, this coach is bad. It does not mean, oh, man, this team is bad. Sometimes y'all just need a little breath of fresh air on both sides. On both sides. That's why I would not be I know it's not happening. So, I guess I'm wasting my breath, but I just wanted to explain my point of view on John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh's cool. He's cool. But the way that it seems right here, right now, it just seems like this team could really use a breath of fresh air, especially after these last 2 years, how they've ended, especially after that. Now, we know it's not going to happen, but that's been on my mind today. And again, it's not a bad thing. It's not anything against Harbaugh. It's not anything against, but they can have success without each other. They can go their separate, and obviously not every single coach is Andy Reid. We get that. But hey, ain't John Harbaugh a pretty good coach, right? That's what I hear, right? Harbaugh's a pretty good coach. And this Ravens team, they got a pretty nice squad. They got a pretty nice roster. So both parties could benefit. Then also think about John Fox with the Denver Broncos. John Fox took those Denver Broncos all the way to the Super Bowl. And they just got smacked. Then guess what happened? They got rid of him. They fired him. They let him go. And then what happened? Within like a year or two, the Broncos were right back in the Super Bowl, and they won it all. Their head coach had got all the way to the Super Bowl and they got rid of it. And then a couple years, they won a Super Bowl. So you see, a breath of fresh air can be a beautiful thing. Again, it's not happening, but I would not be opposed to it because I think it could benefit both sides big time. Oh, y'all thought just because Ravens season is over that Heart of the City was going to stop hooking y'all up? No, they not. Because Heart of the City, right here, right now, they having a blowout sale. Well, everything is on a discounted price right here, right now. Now, get this. They still taking care of y'all because if you go to Heart of the City's website, which is down below in the description, and you use code INGRAVEN, then you get an additional, again, everything's already at a discounted price, but you use code INGRAVEN, you get an additional 20% off. So, man, Ravens ain't take care of us. But you can never say that Heart of the City ain't taking care of us. Team Keep It Clean. Hit up Heart of the City. Let them know that we sent you. And again, use code INGRAVEN to get that 20% off. So now we reach my favorite part of these videos where we get to feature your questions. If you'd like to take part in it, you can send an email to teamkeepitclean@gmail.com or for the Team Keep It Clean patrons. And if you would like to join them, you can go to patreon.com/Ingravenvids. You can send your question directly in a DM on Patreon. First question came from my guy, Anthony. He said, "What's up? Hope you and the family are well and blessed." So Todd Monken is getting an extension. To me, I think the Ravens want to keep him around because if John can't get it done next year with a good team, then Todd takes over. What do you think? Take care, God bless, and trust. I don't think that would happen. I still very much believe that the only way that John Harbaugh leaves the Baltimore Ravens is if he chooses to leave the Baltimore Ravens. If he chooses to step down, if he chooses to retire, whatever he chooses, that will be what happens. He ain't getting kicked out. Next question came from my guy, Samy. He said, "I ain't Raven Samy here. I took a few days off from the Ravens after that game. I still can't believe we just fumbled, like literally and figuratively." He said, "Been a fan since the 2019 season, and this is for sure the most painful loss so far." Yeah, this was very, very painful. It hurt very, very bad because it was literally right in their hands and they had so many opportunities. But anyway, he said, "But one thing I can't understand now is why is everyone so focused on trading Mark Andrews? Wasn't he one of the top 3 tight ends the last couple of years? Isn't he the touchdown leader of our franchise? Hasn't he been the safety net for Lamar since those two got into the league? I can understand that it is going to be difficult to keep him and likely, but I think Mark gets a little bit too less respect in the conversation." A lot of people they have recency bias, but with Mark Andrews, it ain't just recency bias that people have been referring to. People have brought up Mark Andrews in the playoffs specifically, not regular season, but in the playoffs specifically, and they see a significant drop off. There's been issues with Mark Andrews in the playoffs for sure. There's also been issues with Lamar Jackson in the playoffs too, especially when it comes to turnovers. And that's something that it's been a problem. And the Ravens are going to move further than they have been. That's got to get fixed ASAP. But he said, "I hope by any means possible that we can keep both because I can't imagine losing one to another team." What do you think how realistic this is? Well, it is realistic this year, but after this year, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and Charlie Coler's contracts all expire. So the Baltimore Ravens, normally they like doing things a little early rather than later. So I wonder if they're going to give us any indication on what their decision is going to be this offseason if they were to make a move at the tight end position. He said, in another question, "I'm 100% sure if the Ravens and Lamar were playing the NFC, they would have made multiple Super Bowls by this point. What do you think?" That's funny. I put something on Twitter, and somebody was like, oh, I put that the Eagles, they got the blueprint. They got the blueprint for getting it done, for being successful, for getting the Super Bowls. And somebody was like, "Oh, that blueprint is just them playing in the NFC." And I was like, you know what? That's a good point because the AFC, oh boy, AFC is stressful. it's obviously Patrick Mahomes. He's been winning everything. You got Josh Allen. You got Joe Burrow. You got who else? And I'm trying to think of people other than the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. But even though the Browns, they be a little pain here and there. They don't really be winning too much, but they be a little pain here and there. But the AFC, they definitely the more heavy conference in my opinion. And Lamar got to deal with all of that. He got to deal with all of it all the time because that's the conference that he's in. So I do agree. Like, if the Ravens were in the NFC, then yeah, for sure. He said, like always, keep up the great work and see you soon, Samy. Hey, appreciate you, my friend. Next question came from Crystal. She said, hey, hope you and the family are well. Is it my imagination or is Hollywood Brown not being used in Kansas City? I know he was hurt, but he came back. I don't hear his name called on any plays. Did he ever get a touchdown? Just wondering. Thanks. Touchdown? No. A couple of catches, though, yes. And he was part of the game yesterday, especially, or not yesterday, 2 days ago now. But he was involved early on in that game. He had a couple of catches, I think, on the first drive. Then he had another pass where it was like, I think it was right before halftime. It was like a back shoulder throw. Patrick Mahomes threw it to him, but he bobbled it and ended up dropping it. He was trying to keep both feet in bounds, and just too much going on. He ended up dropping the ball. And then I think Tony Romo was like, oh, well, hey, Hollywood Brown, he was like, that was a perfect pass. Hollywood Brown probably not used to having a pass so good. He probably never had a pass thrown that good to him in his NFL career. He said something like that. I was like, oh, God, Romo, come on now, man. But Hollywood was certainly a part of the Chiefs game. He was hurt for a majority of the season, but he came back right before playoffs, I believe. And yeah, he's been with them ever since and just slowly getting more and more involved. And now he'll be in the Super Bowl. Time to move on. Next question came from Jamie B. He said, hey, hope you and the family are doing well. And Pookie and the rest of the team keep it clean. Appreciate that. He said, well, the Bills are who we thought they were. The Bills are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. So if you want to crown them, then wait a minute. They lost. Ha! He said, my question is twofold. What free agent position should we target, and what position should we target in the draft? Well, free agency starts first, so I think the draft could be not necessarily what you don't get in free agency, but it all just depends. But free agents, I would say maybe offensive line, but you could do that in the draft too, because you know what? I guess both, because you want somebody ready right here, right now. You don't want to just have a bunch of rookies on the offensive line. You want somebody ready right here, right now, but you want somebody who's been a veteran, who knows the game and whatnot, got some experience under their belt, because you don't want the offensive line to just be all guys that are in their first, second, and then Falele, because Roger Rosengarten will be in his second year. Who knows if Ronnie Stanley going to come back or not, but you got Tyler Linderbaum and Falele and Roger Rosengarten. So there's two more spots that are sitting there wide open. So you want a mix of a veteran and a young guy too. He said, but what position should we target in the draft to get us over the hump? Yeah, offensive line, defensive line too. Just somebody else disruptive, an edge guy. That may be better for like free agency or trade. So it all just depends. He said, the Bayou Baltimore Raven, man, I thought I would see my Ravens in New Orleans. We all did. Well, a lot of us did, not everybody, but he said, thank you again for all that you do. Ravens 2025, we will rise again, Mandrews. Next question came from my guy, Corey. He said, what's up, Ingraven? Hope you and the family are doing well. Love the content, broski. Keep up the excellent work. We in Baltimore appreciate the love, but my question is, no, I appreciate y'all, man. I love y'all for real, man. He said, my question is, what are the chances that the Ravens could get Myles Garrett from the Browns? I would say slim to probably less than none. I'd just, even if the Ravens gave up a big offer, if Myles Garrett became available, Ravens would, it would just, the Browns ain't doing that. Nah, they ain't have. The Ravens have already been getting the best of the Browns for a while, and for the Browns to make them even stronger with Myles Garrett, somebody like that, nah. So I think the chances are less than none. And he said, and what do you think about after John's last year? Do you think he will take a lesser role and go back to being a special teams coach, and we promote from within, giving Todd Monken the head coach spot? Can't wait to hear your reply. And like the ball in Mark Andrews' hands, I'm out. That's tough. But no. Oh, and he actually sent this. He sent this on January 25th. Okay, so Todd Monken's contract extension, it got not officially announced, but it was announced that it was being worked on January 27th. So he sent this a couple days before. Well, yeah, and he I guess he thought that the Ravens would let John Harbaugh play on a 1 year. No, they ain't doing it. They not gonna do it. They really not. So but yeah, so Todd Monken becoming Ravens head coach, it is technically possible, but even that, like, in my opinion, that even seems like a stretch. Because again, John Harbaugh, is his shot to call, man. The ball is in his court. Whenever he want to pick up his ball and go home, that's on him, because Ravens certainly ain't kicking him off the court. Next question came from my guy Ty. He said, changes for next season. Hey, man, hope you're doing well after that loss. It was a rough thing to watch for sure. I'm holding my faith in this team that we'll get back there and it will be different next year. Of course, something has to change for that to happen, though. Well, let's see what he says. He said, first of all, make Likely the tight end one. Andrews is an old man. Andrews is old, man. He can't make the same plays consistently. He used to 3 or 4 years ago. He just ain't got it in him. Now, I disagree with that. We've seen Mark Andrews make a lot of plays this year, and while he did have a slow start, that back end of the season was amazing for Mark Andrews. Is he as fast as he once was? No, the speed is not there, but the playmaking ability is certainly still there. Did he come up short in the playoffs? Yes, he did. Did he mess up in that fourth quarter? Have a terrible fourth quarter? He did, for sure. But Mark Andrews can still play now. But anyway, he said, I think it's time to let Mark take the backseat and go down a slot on the depth chart. Likely has that big playability and the same short hands that Andrews had when he was younger. Now, I will say, I do think that Isaiah Likely's hands are better than Mark Andrews. I will say that. And Lamar Jackson, Isaiah Likely obviously got a crazy connection too, just like Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson. Now, I would say Mark Andrews and Lamar's connection is a bit above Isaiah Likely's, but Isaiah Likely and Lamar's connection, it ain't far off. It's really not. But anyway, he said, I'm not saying we cut him. He's done a lot for the Ravens and can still be an amazing red zone threat and a blocker. Not to mention that he's a good locker room leader, but it's time to let him take a slightly reduced role in this offense. Second, I truly believe we need to let Monken take the head coach job and let Harbaugh go. Ooh. Let me see the date he sent this on. He sent this on January 21st. So, anyway, he said Monken has shown his ability to sustain a good offense throughout the season, and I feel he would help the team culture a lot more than what Harbaugh is doing right now. Well, hey, again, with Harbaugh, ain't nothing official been announced, but it's going to be on the way. But at least, hey, we get to keep Todd Monken, too. Anyway, he said, additionally, as good as our offensive line has looked throughout the second half of the regular season and the postseason, I think we need to re-sign Stanley for another year or two and show up a bit with at least one new starting guard. I feel that Lamar's ability and athleticism has led to the line looking significantly better than it really is. That is true. That's very true. Ravens offensive lines, since Lamar Jackson has been here, a lot of them have been very overrated. And hey, it ain't a bad thing for them. And don't get me wrong, they have still played a big part. They have still had some really, really good moments throughout all of these seasons and whatnot. Because 2019, like, I do think they were overrated some, but they did, like, Lamar was going crazy, but Mark Ingram went crazy too. So I can't say it was too overrated. Like, they weren't like crazy overrated. Like, oh my gosh, these guys really suck. But with Lamar there, they're being made look a lot better than they. No, they were still good, but still they were overrated overall. But yeah, so yeah, upgrading that offensive line, I agree. He said, lastly, I think we need another guy to get after the quarterback consistently. And another guy to put next to Roquan. Our pass rushes were underwhelming during a lot of periods during the regular season and the postseason, and that I feel could be fixed by bringing in another good pass rusher on the edge. In regards to the linebacker roles, Roquan was pretty solid most of the year, but I feel like we could have done better with getting a second linebacker out there with him than what we did. Malik Harrison and Chris Board are solid, but we could definitely do better. In my opinion, it sounds like you're talking about more of a playmaking linebacker. Because our linebackers, they held it down. They did their thing. They really showed up the linebacker position, especially when Trenton Simpson got benched. I had high hopes for Trenton Simpson this year, man. I was hoping that he would be able to just come in and do his thing, but it just didn't work out. So the Ravens made that switch, and yeah, they didn't look back for the rest of the season. But it worked out for the other linebackers and for the Ravens defense as a whole. But yeah, it sounded to me like you talking about somebody, just a linebacker that can make more plays. And that would certainly be nice for the Ravens. That's why I always put, like, Roquan Smith not bad at all. I always put Fred Warner over him, though, in my opinion. Fred Warner, because Fred Warner is just, that dude is a playmaker, man. He's an excellent linebacker, excellent tackler. He's more explosive too, but and Roquan, again, it's not a shot at Roquan Smith or anything like that. But Fred Warner, he's just much more of a playmaker in my opinion. Hey, that boy Zach Bond too from the Eagles. Well, that people be sleeping on him. They be sleeping on Zach Bond, man. He was making a bunch of plays when they played us too. But anyway, he said, I also think we need another third safety to run alongside Hamilton and Washington in a similar role to what Geno Stone used to do. What about Marcus Williams? I'm playing. You know they're done with him. Anyway, he said, sorry about the long message. That's just my thoughts, though. Let me know what you think and have a blessed day. Oh, I love this breakdown. I appreciate you, my friend.